Live from the MC. Welcome back. Casual Supremacy, the Dykeman podcast. Thank you guys. We love having you here. We love talking. A lot of news going on right now. I heard today we've been talking about the Diddy trial.
The Diddy trial?
They showed videos of the freakoffs today to the jury. Only like 4 or 5 minute clips to the jury of the freakoffs.
They got to experience the freakoff.
With the you know, they had the sound and they just had to sit there and watch. Like, but you know what's funny? Guess what side of the case showed the freakoff videos? The defense.
The defense?
The defense. This is not even the part. So that's a kind of a move right there.
That's a flex.
That's kind of like, hey, listen, we're gonna show you what's happening. We're gonna see what's going on. You know, we talked
Everybody's
about
consenting here.
Yeah, this is not like, you know, it was, you know, so they've been showing clips, whatever it is. I heard, speaking of people in jail, R. Kelly, he got rushed. I think he OD'd in jail.
He
OD'd in jail. He's telling everyone that they're trying to kill him. That's this new thing that he's like, you know, he's trying to get Trump to pardon him. Everyone's trying to get Trump.
Everybody.
Everyone wants
shout out
Trumpito.
Shout out to Joe Exotic.
I know.
Joe Exotic wants the pardon as well.
Everyone wants to pardon. Everyone knows, like, listen, if this convicted, you know, felon isn't gonna let me out, get me out, pardon me, then who else is going to? So I big ups to everyone trying to get a pardon right now. You know, like I respect your game.
That's a cheat code.
I respect that. I mean, it is what it is. Like, listen, if you're in jail, you got nothing to do. Okay, you ain't got nothing to do. I'm gonna be writing to people. We sending messages like, yo,
why not take the shot?
I've been they've been persecuting me, like, you know. So it's really one of those tough times. If you're in jail, if you're a celebrity, there's a few of them in there, but you might be able to get out. I feel like if things go real bad, you know, the Trumpy might actually let us out.
Well, Trump did say that he would have to look at the evidence for the Diddy case, and he would consider pardoning him.
He's gonna look at the evidence, which just means he's probably gonna like watch the freak-offs and jerk off. I'm just kidding. What are you gonna do? It's like, take that, you know, like, you know, at the freak-offs. So it's definitely one of those wild times, you know. It's gonna be like the Epstein list all over again. It's just like, oh, here's a whole.
You think that's ever gonna come out?
Of course not. And it's definitely not gonna ever come out because, you know,
at least not within the next 2-3 years.
His bestie is all over, and he's the president of the United States. He was his his best friend for like 10 years was Donald Trump, and if there's anyone that I can show you, it's like there are 20 pictures of them hanging out, videos. Like, imagine like me being like, I ain't know you, and it's like I don't know who that is. I don't know what are you talking about.
Like 100 podcasts together.
It's like, and everyone's like, what about this one? What about that one? What about that time? What about that time? So as soon as, you know, they looked at it and they saw how many times, it's like, dude, because everyone's on it. I'm not trying to say that's just, but I'm just saying that's the particular reason why you're not going to see it like in the next 4 years. I'm not saying there's probably plenty of Democrats and Bill Clinton.
It's like the 9/11.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, forget it. They're not. Then those are even worse. Those aren't even gonna. We'll be dead. We'll be old men. We'll be old men before we, you know, learn about that. But we're not gonna get all
9/11. Those are in the vault inside of the vault.
The vault inside of the vault. That is, listen. We as New Yorkers, and we talk about it. And, you know, like I said, the thing with 9/11 for me, when it happened when I was like 18, 19 years old, is that it is the beginning of like all of this stuff. Like the biggest, it was like the original sin of, like, you know, think about like the next like 20 years all came from that, the Patriot Act, you know, it's like everything that, you know, just kind of,
the amount of security today, I remember the amount of security in the city. Oh my God.
Crazy. So it's one of those things where, you know, sometimes we don't see these incidents happen and we don't realize kind of the long-term effects and how long, and literally for a generation, you know, been affected. And to be honest, the one thing with 9/11 that was for me the biggest shift was that we went from like, we just stopped believing like in science. Like there was things where it was like, that doesn't make any scientific sense. And people were like, what are you talking about? You know, be American, forget science, math, steel. You know, what are you talking about? You know, it's like all of a sudden you just have to like, America, you know, like we're being under attack. And if you're saying anything bad right now, you're part of the problem. You're pro-terrorism. You're like, what? It doesn't make any sense. But it's like, This is the times we live in. You know, it's so funny. One of my favorite podcasts, besides this for years, I know he's a total crazy, was Infowars. Alex Jones. You know, he was one of the first people who was very, very big on that. And to be honest, I think that that's really what's happening right now in this world. Infowars, where it's like, depending on what side of the aisle you're looking at a whole one stream of information. The other side is saying one stream of information, and it's just literally this
different spectrums
of this bombing of different information that contradicts this, and they're trying to weaken that. Now we have AI. Think we have gonna have deep fakes soon that are gonna be so good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That we're truly not going to know.
Talking about AI, did you see the 50 Cent Family Matters with Diddy?
We posted it. I never posted it. It was great. It was great. You know, 50 is the king of the trolls, man.
50 never loses.
50 is undefeated. He is like, he never lost. He's never lost. 50 is just, and through all this stuff and all that, he's that one guy that doesn't really have any, like, you know, like no one's really on him. He just kind of does his business and see what's going on, but he's not like even, you know, like he doesn't cut. He's just, I love that for him. Like 50 after everything is like the kind of the cleanest one of them, you know, like I love how he trolls Jay-Z. Like, yo, he's hard.
I was just about to say that.
Because listen, him and Jigga, that's the hard thing.
He's the only one too.
Well, because first of all, that beef is long standing, you know, like we know that one, you know, and you know, and Jay.
Why do they have beef? I never heard the story of JC and Fifth.
I think, you know, there was that one song where, you know, I'm about the dollars. What the
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, but old stuff, but you know, there's something there, you know, that kind of King of New York.
Something else there.
No, there is, and I'm sure that there was never
squashed it with Nas, though. You know, something has to give.
He did, and but that's different. But I think 50 enjoys the beef too much. He profits off the beef, too much. It's part of his, you know, like Nas is not one of those people who's gonna, you know, like he dropped Ether, but he ain't gonna keep at it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nas got Coinbase money now. Nas got that crypto money now. He don't, you know, Nas is just fine. You know, nobody's bothering Nas right now. So, but Jay, you know, like a lot of the Diddy friends have been real quiet. You know, everyone calls out Ashton Kutcher, who, you know, think about it. Ashton Kutcher was like making like him and his wife Mila Kunis were you know trying to save like kids who were sex trafficked and all that. But he was like best friends with Diddy for like a long time. Parties, and I mean like a decade or more, you know, like, you know, so what's going on, and all these people who are always around, you know, Diddy have just gone silent.
I mean, who wasn't around Diddy?
They were, but I mean, but there were people who were like particularly like constantly there.
They were there for the after parties.
Yeah, exactly. Like Jay, those are people who were like, you know, you call him his best friend, the whole thing, like before all this whole thing. And again, that's a little warning. Be careful who you call your best friend, you know.
So I think in the trial came up that they mentioned that the freak-offs and like the parties were two completely different events.
Or two different events, and there was levels to it. And then if you made it to the freak-offs, and you know they have it for different hotel, different places that they would go to. But I feel like the freak-offs were actually kind of like more closed in. It was, you know, a lot of it was Cassie and whatever male hooker, the Punisher, or whatever it is, the guy, whoever was gonna like, you know, be picked to like nut wherever, you know, see what's going on, and Diddy and his hijab sitting there like like.
Have you heard the Punisher stories?
No, I heard that he's coming out with a book or something, and so that's gonna be interesting. I've tried to, you know, like I find this kind of salacious and like it's kind of cool to talk about. I think Diddy's probably gonna get out of it. He's not gonna get like RICO'd. Like it is what it is. Like, yes, you're a freak, but like, is this a crime? Is this like a federal crime?
It makes sense why the defense would show the videos. Is basically a take as in, look, everybody here is consenting, everybody here is partaking at their own will.
Exactly.
Nobody here is being forced.
Yeah, you know, you're not being forced, you're being paid, you're giving you drugs, you're doing your thing. And so listen, I you know, as I get older, I've seen freakier, you know, crazier things. People like, you know, it's like it is, but he's obviously did some really bad things. You know, you've seen some of the videos, you've seen what he did to Cassie. You know, I think with Diddy also comes down to the whole, people want to know if he killed Tupac, if he killed Biggie.
Yeah.
Those are the, you know, like there's all these things where it's like he has this pattern of being very vengeful, having a lot of money, knowing people, a lot of people that he was associated with or that knew him, died of pneumonia, and in their 40s, pneumonia, and it's like, why do these people just like keep dropping dead at like 43, 44? They show crews. And so we'll see what happens. I mean, I do think that he's not going to be convicted, but we'll see what happens. I mean, or maybe it'll be on a lesser charge, but I don't think it'll be the higher one. But who knows? It's going to be one of those wild times. We're going to see. You tell us.
No, it's crazy. I agree with you on a lot of your points. The only thing I would say that it's and this might be a little controversial.
Oh, please. I like controversial. Go ahead. Tell me.
Okay, so my whole thing is that how can you be a victim, right? When you're setting it up, you're the organizer of the whole thing, and you're partaking willingly. But hey, I don't have all the details.
The way they try to
know how it works.
That he groomed Cassie, or they groomed, and he was then 35, she was 20. Talked about this last week. I think a 20-year-old woman is probably more mature than a 35-year-old man, but that's the truth. We know, like women mature and they're smarter. And like I said, there was probably a point, listen, she was going to help his career. He was
and Jay-Z was already taken, so
yeah, exactly. Jay already had Beyonce, so there was the one to level up. There is definitely these different levels of shadiness to the story, and like I said, I don't think Cassie would have even gone on to that trial or anything unless she was offered immunity. Meaning that if you were offered immunity, it means that you committed a crime.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like if they had
that's why that's
like, what it is, but they wanted the bigger fish.
Slope.
They wanted the bigger fish. But no, after she got like $20-30 million, whatever it is, and I know a lot of girls were like, she deserved all of it. I'm like, fine, she did. And then, they pulled the trial and they brought her in and were like, hey, we're gonna offer you immunity, but you have to go on the stand.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like
to make the case stronger.
Yes, of course, because she was complicit, and it was what it was. And again, and we talked about this on a long enough timeline, 11 years, you can go from being a victim to being an accomplice. And I truly am like, listen, you can do both. And it's a duality of all things. It's never so black and white where it's like, oh, this person, especially over a span of over a decade, there's a lot to be looked at. There's a lot to be dissected. We'll see what happens. I don't think it's enough for him to go to jail for too long. Or if not, to be honest, it's a good time for him to go to jail because he got Trumpito there.
Hey.
That's his boy too. I don't know. I mean, listen, if there was
a time, know, because I feel like that Trump went on that whole pardoning train was when he was trying to get elected, so he was trying to get votes. As opposed to now, I don't think
the party
try to get votes.
He's got no votes. I know he pardoned after. Listen, he's going to be president for another 3-4 years. He's good. He's not like even close. He's not even going to seek re-election. He's been like in his 83, 84. Like by the time he finished, I think it was just his 80th birthday.
Yeah.
On Saturday. I don't know if did you see the parade?
For 80?
Yeah. Look. Listen, man, and he is definitely wearing like colostomy bags. Like he's got like a catheter. Like you can see it in his pants. You can see like the tubing. He's wearing like a diaper or whatever it is, or like a catheter or whatever it is. He's an old man, and so it's like everyone's kind of going. I'm not saying what's going on, but I'm just saying that like it's weird to have these leaders that are so old, because what I've realized as I've gotten older is that you just care less and less about the future. Like you're just kind of like, I'm not gonna, I work in a building.
Let's do it now.
Let's just do it now. Or like, you don't really care so much about the consequences. What does Trump care about consequences? It's like, well, I got like what, 5-10 years, like maybe 20. If he doesn't work out, he doesn't do anything. So I doubt that. But like, like you just get to this point. I work in a building. I talk about this. I deal with a lot of people who are older, and so we're doing a lot of renovations. And they don't want to do anything. And I'm like, well, this building's almost like parts of where I work were built during the Abraham Lincoln administration, right? And I joke about it because the residents don't want, we were trying to put in new windows, and we got all this money to put in all these new windows, but they don't want to be inconvenienced. And we're coming in, we're like moving their stuff.
Sounds like old people.
And you know what some of them have said to us? They've said to us, do it when I'm dead. And I was like, seriously, like with a
serious face. I believe it. I believe it.
You can fix these windows when I'm dead, but right now I don't want to be dealing with
this. I believe it.
So, as I realized, this is especially like we're here dealing with New York City, right? And so about to vote for mayor. I'm telling you, I'm voting for Mom Donnie. I'm walking for Zoran. He went to Bronx Science, okay? Like that, we gotta respect the kid who went to Bronx Science, okay? That's kind of,
Some respect on it.
I don't put some respect on his name. They're trying to, but I realize that we do need politicians or people who are looking 40 years out, 50 years out, 60 years out, and could be alive and be a part of that. And I think that's why we need more youth. We need more young people making the decisions versus these old people who are just kind of like trying to solidify their legacy and da da da. And it's like, whatever it is, or they're just trying to like die in peace, or they're trying to like ride it till the wheels fall off. Yeah. And then, they're like, then do whatever you want. But in the meantime, we're holding back on all these innovations and things, and because people like the old system, because usually the older generations are the ones who've banked on the old way of doing
Yeah,
things.
those were the ones that put the system in place.
So they never want to, so it's something we have to really think about as we move forward in life and politics. Just look for people who are have the same time frame in mind. They're like, hey, you know what? I gotta do something different. I gotta figure something out. But yeah, man, it's wild times, the Diddy trial. But we're gonna keep you updated here on Casual Supremacy in the Dykeman podcast. We're all about the news. We're all about all the hot bits. Come back, talk to us. We love you. Thank you.
Live from the MC.